everybody, it's Matt the Dice Trucker, and I'm joined with Jenn, the board game librarian. We are the Literary Gamers. Today we're going to be talking about Destinies from Lucky Duck Games. This is a game for 1 to 3 people. It takes about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to play. Some scenarios are not as long, but overall, that's kind of the feel. So, anyway, we're taking a look at this. Thank you to Lucky Duck Games for sending this to us, and let's get started. I'm not doing a how to play on this video because this game's app-based. I don't need to do a how to play. There are a few things that you should look at the rulebook for, such as successes, how you get those successes, and just kind of general start setup things. So maybe I will. No, I'm not going to do that. Just follow the app, everybody. The app will teach you how to play. Really nice. All right. So, Jenn.
Matt.
We played the full campaign of Destinies. For any of you who have been following us, we're starters and not finishers on campaigns. So, because of that reason, I'm going to pass it over to Jenn. Jenn, what did you think of Destinies?
So I think Matt was like, it was this past Sunday or...
No, the week before.
The week before.
We were both exhausted, but we pushed through.
And I was like, we are doing this. We are finishing an actual campaign/story-driven game this year. If it's the last thing, we do. So we did this. We had already played the expansion Sand and Something with Jason Perez of Shelf Stories and gotten a feel as to how the game played. But we had this one that had been sent to us. So the game definitely ramps up from scenario 1 all the way to scenario 5. There's 5 different scenarios, and in each scenario you have the option of playing 3 different people. And in almost every single scenario, there's a lady. So props to you, Lucky Duck, for making it very lady-driven.
There is one scenario where it's all ladies.
Correct. I think that's the
Joan of Arc scenario.
The fourth one? Third or fourth one? So I love that. Love that a lot. In this game, it's like Joan of Arc time, so Middle Ages, and there's definitely some fantastical elements that are in here. I'm not spoiling it by saying that we have the Angel of Death, because the Angel of Death is right out in front, but there's werewolves and beasts and demons and things like that. So if that's not your jam, theme-wise, this may not be a home run for you.
Right.
So the closest thing in terms of gameplay that you're going to find this to be is perhaps Call to Adventure?
Yeah, I will say that.
So Call to Adventure. I think in broad terms we have board game RPG-esque story-driven character building games.
Yeah. I think another game you'll probably feel that this kind of emulates is Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition, because you are ramping yourself up, you're using an app to travel throughout, and it gets larger and larger as the game goes on. So I would say Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition also is a great inspiration for this game. But one of the other inspirations for this game, and I think it's mainly due to the minis, is Time of Legends Joan of Arc.
Well, yes,
from
since
Mythic.
One of the scenarios is Joan of Arc focused.
Some of the minis are exactly the same if you got Time of Legends Joan of Arc. And size-wise, too. If there's one complaint I've heard, I didn't have this complaint, is that the minis are so small when the app tells you to bring this person out, you spend about 5 minutes looking in the thing sometimes.
We should say, I guess, that this review is going to contain spoilers.
Sure.
So I already said that there was Joan of Arc in here, so don't keep watching if you don't want to know that. And of course, I think some of the inspiration comes from Chronicles Crime.
Oh, yes. Yes.
With the QR codes, the exploration, the app.
I had no idea that QR codes existed in the Middle Ages, but I was impressed to see it thematic-wise here.
Who knew? Who knew these things? All right. So gameplay, how do you feel it played, Matt?
It's really more of an RPG, right? Because you have taken on the role of this character, at least for the scenario, and you're traveling and asking questions with people, and you're rolling to see if you succeed. By the way, you have these 3 tracks, of which you have little wooden discs that you put in each track. And when you roll, you look for the number on that track, and all the wooden discs you have below it are your successes. That's probably the most explanation I'm going to give you on how to play. I liked that a lot. It is very RPG feeling that way. So I did feel like it was an RPG, but at the same time, I got the game feel that I wanted from a game like this. Knowing Lucky Duck's app-driven games,
Right.
I'm very happy with this product.
I think, too, in terms of an RPG flavor, you have choices in terms of where you go, who you talk to, what you ask, what you interact with, and then your skill checks along the way are determined. You have slots for 5 items that you can carry along with you. Anything past that you have to get rid of or switch out.
First off, if you're not using your items, definitely use your items in this game. Don't hold on to them at any time. That's just my own opinion. I held on to items a whole scenario and I lost. You sped through it so fast because you were using your items.
Yeah. Gameplay, again, is very easy. I think the 2 hours can be misleading because not all the scenarios are 2 hours.
The one that got closest to 2 hours was the one with the plague, I would say. That was the one that got closest.
3, maybe?
Yeah. Any dislikes?
I would say for folks who... So it's 1 to 3 players, right? So that's a very unusual player count.
Right.
So if you're 4 players, sorry.
It's tough.
I mean, so that could be a negative for some folks.
Even when we played with Jason, it was still 1 to 3, and it was the expansion box.
And more players equals more time.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily a terrible one to do solo, I would say. I would say that in some of the scenarios, after a certain point, it became very clear who was going to get to their destiny.
Yes.
And if you were nowhere near getting anywhere close to fulfilling your destiny, so on your player card, you have your little byline, and then you have 2 different options of what you are trying to accomplish, your destiny, in that particular scenario. So you choose one of them and you go around talking to people, scanning the QR code for that destiny. And sometimes you're just wandering around. There was one, Matt was just wandering around. The last one, I was wandering around. Like, you can get stuck sometimes.
But the nice thing is that you can switch your destiny
as
well. So there was one where I realized, the last one, where I just did not have the ability to fulfill the destiny I chose at the beginning. But as time went on, I do have the ability to do, and it was to kill monsters. And I had the ability to do that. So I switched it up and was able to complete my destiny that way.
That is good. That happened to me in maybe the 3rd or 4th one, whichever one I had ended up winning. So that is nice. I would say in terms of the use of the app, it's very intuitive. It's very easy to use.
Very well designed.
Very well designed. The initial reading of the story was very well done.
It's got that creepiness air to it.
I do wish that each, not slide, but each interaction was also read to you, but cost-wise, probably would have been too much. I think... I don't know if people are going to be concerned about the cost for the 5 scenarios and what you get cost-wise. You get a ton of minis. They're minis, though. And 5 scenarios. You had a comment on that.
I did.
You did. It's $60 retail? $50?
I think it's 60 or 50 retail, and you are basically getting 5. So it's $10 a scenario. If you play with 2 people, it's basically $5 per person. 3 players, and you're like $3.50 a person per scenario. So if you, like what we did, was just pound it all out in 1 to 2 days. If you enjoy story-driven RPG style, I could see you seeing the value in a game like this. because you could go back and play them again with the character you didn't play, as long as it's 2 players, right? And I could go back solo and play every single one again.
You could.
As long as it's not the one I played the first time. For board gamers who constantly question replayability, this one's tough. Because if you also like Chronicles of Crime, same issue, right? I think it's 5 or 6 in each Chronicles of Crime box, and people still love it. So as far as Destinies goes, I think, this is on par with Lucky Duck. They give you a fantastic experience out of the box. And then once you're done with the box, you move on.
Yeah, the whole issue of replayability here, to me, and other scenario-driven games is kind of... we're not going to go back and replay this game.
No, this is going to the library.
It is going to the library.
We enjoyed it.
Used and loved, but
Exactly.
I'm good. If we ever ended up getting the expansion, I would bring it home from work, and we will play it. But not everything has to be replayable. Not everything. This is one of those situations. Like, Time Stories was one of them. Chronicles of Crime is another one. Anything, to me, that's very specifically scenario-based. It doesn't have to be. You pay a certain amount to go to a concert. That's not replayable. You pay a certain amount to go to a movie. Also not replayable unless you buy the movie. But
I think it was in a lecture that Quinn's had done once from Shut Up and Sit Down, and I can't remember who he said. He goes, somebody once said, think of it as a pizza. You go and you buy a pizza and you eat it, and it's gone. You go and buy a board game, and you play it a certain amount of times, and all you can do is talk about its replayability. That's not Quinn's who said that. I can't remember who he said it was, and I'd like to have that properly attributed somewhere, maybe in the description. I'll find that at... No? Okay. But, that is that question about replayability, and then you could say it a bunch of times with other things, like a concert, a movie, and it's just kind of something we have to... It's a whole other video.
It is a whole other video. I should make a list of these whole other videos. So artwork-wise, I think really atmospheric.
Yes.
I would say. Different than the Chronicles of Crime, different style.
Yeah.
The Chronicles of Crime, more of a... not clear lines, necessarily.
Well, first off, Chronicles of Crime is co-op.
Yeah, so this is not a cooperative game, too. We should have said that.
It might feel like it at first, but it's not a cooperative game.
I really liked that. If you do end up getting the expansion is not standalone. You do need some of the things from Destinies, as we learned with Jason, and some of the minis, too, I think we had used.
That one is more not fantastical based. That one is very crusade based. So if you're looking for that theme, try to go and find sand and...
That I'll put in the description.
Okay.
So I really enjoyed this game. I think I gave you a headache by really trying to...
Oh, I was so exhausted by the end of Scenario
And that was
5.
the app. That was just looking at the app and navigating that.
You do have to read the stuff out loud, because even if it doesn't have anything to do with your destiny, it could have something to do with somebody else's. You just don't know. So yeah. Yes.
I really enjoyed this. Even though we're not keeping it and it's not replayable. Oh no! I really enjoyed this. This was like an 8.25, which in Jen's scale is very high.
Yes, a solid B-.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Love it. Have to have expectations. How are you, Matt?
I would say it's about the same. Mainly because...
What?
Mainly because it's going away. I did enjoy it so much that I'd love to keep it around, but other people can enjoy this.
I agree. Again, there's nothing stopping us from, when more content comes out, bringing this home and playing it. And we would maybe do that.
And if you're worried about replayability, folks, and it's only 1 to 3 players, pool yourselves with a few other people and split the price. And when one group is done with it, you can then give it to the other group.
Options?
And whoever likes it gets to keep it. How about that? Okay.
So yes, you will need to download the app to be able to play this game. And it will play on an iPad. We played it on an iPad. I suppose any downloadable option that
It said both that and iOS. Let me check the back while we're looking.
Yeah. So that's probably about it for this base box of Destinies.
App Store, Google Play, and Steam. So
Good. Pretty. I don't know if could be in a top 10 for me for this year for games. We'll have to see how things fall.
Still only July.
It still is only July, and the game distribution this year is going to be rough at best. So I won't be surprised if this doesn't show up on some people's top 10s of the year. It is really. For me, we're understating that. This is very good. This is very good.
Yep.
Okay. All right. With that, yep. I'm Jenn, the board game librarian.
Would we put this with a book?
There's
plenty.
Will try to find a book.
Medieval times fantasy. Where do you begin?
Yeah.
There are plenty of books.
Okay. So.
Yeah.
I'm Jenn, the board game librarian.
At the Dice Trucker.
We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.